All right, with that, we'll get started. So, good morning. My name is Dion Bailey. I'm the current chair of the technical committee here at MCE. This is a special meeting. Today is July 14th. It is 11 o'clock, and I'm calling the meeting to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Hercules,
Present.
Lafayette,
Here.
Larkspur, Martinez, here. Pinot,
Here.
Pleasant Hill,
Here.
Vallejo. It looks like Vallejo is going to be a little bit late. Just wanted to give you that. No, and quorum established.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to number 2 on the agenda is board announcements. Do we have any announcements? Okay. I saw something waving. Yes, I think it's Director Zorn.
Yes, just really quickly, are we having any closed sessions as part of this agenda? We don't, right? So member of the public in the room with me is fine.
Okay. I'm getting nods here. I'm looking at Catalina. Yep, you're correct. That is fine.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board announcements? If not, we'll move on to public comment. Any public comment at this time? We'll start with Mayor Zorn's side, and then we'll move over.
Besides my 11-year-old son, there are no members of the public in the room with me.
Okay, I'm suspicious over there, making sure everybody gets their voice heard. And then let's go over to San Rafael.
No members of the public in San Rafael.
All right, thank you. I think I see none here in Concord either. So we'll moving along.
And I see no hands raised online, Chair.
Thank you very much for the online piece. Next up on the agenda is item number 4, which is report from the Chief Executive Officer.
Good morning, technical committee, staff, and members of the public. Following our public workshop on Index Plus and hedges, and as we continue our public dialogue to inform future board policy direction, I thought it would be helpful to provide some historical context on MCE's hedging program and its impact on our budget and rates. The primary objective of MCE's short-term hedging strategy is to reduce customer exposure to California ISO wholesale market price volatility and support stable retail rates. While MCE's long-term power purchase agreement naturally hedge a portion of our expected energy needs, short-term financial hedges are used to manage the remaining exposure to California ISO market prices. I'd like to bring to your attention to the chart on the screen. There you go. MCE's short-term hedging significantly narrowed the range of annual load costs, reducing both the magnitude and variability of customer exposure to wholesale market prices. Historical realized cost outcomes of hedges varied with market conditions, which is expected for a risk management program. Overall, the results indicate the program has performed consistently with its primary objective of reducing market volatility and supporting more stable customer rates. So, and the key takeaways from this is that number one is reduced cost volatility. Short-term hedging narrowed annual day-ahead California ISO energy load cost variability from $237 million to $582 million. Those are the reddish bars, or I'm sorry if I'm not using the right color there, to $280 to $399 million, the light bluish bars, providing greater cost stability for customers during 2021 through 2025. During periods of elevated market volatility, those are the first 3 years of this graph, 2021 through 2023, which we had higher market volatility, hedge settlements offset higher market costs. During the relatively calmer markets of 2024 through 2025, hedge settlements reduced realized value because the market risks being hedged against did not materialize to the same extent. And again, we will provide more information down the road, but I thought given where we are, it would be good to show. At a very high level, I may just add that if we think about hedges like buying insurance, usually we buy insurance before something happens to the item we are insuring, not after. So the first three charts show that the insurance, the hedges that we did against the California ISO market for the open positions that we had, in addition to the long-term power purchase agreements, were in high volatile timelines, and it did work appropriately. In the last 2 years, it didn't because we did not have, it did not work as well because we did not have high volatility. Okay, thank you. Then I wanted to thank everyone for who joined us for our public workshop on resource adequacy. We greatly appreciate the time, engagement, and thoughtful participation in helping inform MCE's ongoing procurement discussions. We were pleased to be joined by 9 board members and 25 members of the public, representatives from several climate advocacy organizations attended, including the Sierra Club, Marine Conservation League, 350 Marin, Fairfax Climate Action Committee, San Anselmo Climate Action Commission, and the CCA Workforce and EJ Alliance, as well as the Marin Independent Journal. The workshop recording and presentation materials are available on the board meetings page of our website for anyone who would like to revisit the discussions or learn more. The staff is now compiling the recommendations, requested follow-up items, and key themes raised in the workshop to help inform future board discussions on procurement policies. So basically, we are summarizing, putting all together all the questions, recommendations we have gotten, and we will do probably another workshop to capture all that and take additional input before we start the board process. I'd like to provide a brief update on MCE's prepayment transactions. Some questions had come up recently, so that's why I'm covering this. Since 2022, the board has approved and MCE has completed 3 prepayment transactions. The weighted average savings are 11.42%, exceeding the board-approved minimum weighted average savings target of 8.45%. Since 2022 and through June 2026, more than $34 million in savings have already been realized, helping lower power supply costs and support the stable customer rates. As you may recall, we had $11.1 million as revenue from prepaid as savings from prepaid transactions in our fiscal year ending 2027 budget. Next, I have an update on the governance assessment. MCE's contract with the board selected governance assessor Leading Resource Incorporated has been executed and work starts tomorrow. The first task of phase 1 is to meet with the ad hoc governance assessment committee, which is scheduled for July 21st. Just recently, the 3rd District Court of Appeals summarily denied CalCCA's petition for writ of review of the CPUC's decision in Track 1 of the PCIA proceeding. CalCCA had filed an appeal early this year arguing that the CPUC's decision to approve retroactive application of a change in the PCIA methodology was in violation of the prohibition against retroactive rate making, and it was based on insufficient evidence. The court provided no reasoning for its decision. CalCCA has filed this matter with California Supreme Court. Next, I would like to cover a local battery storage project. Last month, we celebrated the completion of 2 local battery storage projects paired with solar that will provide both resilience and cost savings for critical community facilities in Marin County. The Dance Palace Community and the Cultural Center in Point Reyes Station and St. Vincent de Paul Society of Marin County in San Rafael have each installed solar with the storage systems, totaling 68 kilowatt hours of storage. The projects were completed at no cost to either organization through a combined $150,000 investment from MCE's Energy Storage Program and the Marin Community Foundation. I'd also like to thank Director Sackett for joining us at the Vincent Project Tour. St. Vincent has served the community for 47 years and has never closed its doors, not even for a single day. These projects are part of MCE broader effort to expand local energy resilience. To date, MCE has supported more than 90 residential and commercial battery storage installations through a combination of $750,000 grant from the Marin Community Foundation grants, $1 million in MCE incentives, and $1 million from the CPUC self-generation incentive program, helping reduce customer cost while strengthening local energy reliability. Next, in response to feedback from board members, we have added a new section on MCE's board meetings webpage to provide easier access to information on reduce email volume. It serves as a centralized location for monthly email updates, meeting summaries, communications highlights, and quarterly communication toolkits. We hope this resource will be helpful and welcome your feedback and suggestions for future improvements. Finally, I want to recognize and thank our staff for the dedication, professionalism, and resilience they continue to demonstrate during a period of significant organizational change. Despite uncertainty and new challenges, our team remains focused on serving our customers, supporting our communities, and advancing MCE's mission. Public service is at the heart of what we do, and I am continually impressed by the commitment, integrity, and care our staff brings to that responsibility every day. That completes my report. Thank you.
And thank you. Moving forward, the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Does any board member have an item from, I'm sorry, can I skip? No, it's. Okay, so moving on, again, we're back at the consent calendar, and the question was, I think we have one item, which is the minutes from a meeting, but does anyone want to pull an item before we discuss it?
Chair, before we do that, I believe we have to take comment, right? Public comment for the CEO report.
Chair, we typically do ask if there's any questions and comments from board members and then go to the public as well.
Okay. Then do we have any public comment from Martinez? How about San Rafael?
None here in Centerville. Thank you.
Thank you. And then here, okay. And then do we have anything from the public in general on?
Yes, I see a hand raised by Dan Sagadin.
Sure.
Hello. I just wanted to thank you, Vicken, for that extra detail on the hedges. That was very helpful to see the reduction in volatility and just doing some quick math, looking at the kind of offsetting where you save money and didn't save money. You know, it looked like it was pretty cheap insurance. So thank you for providing the extra detail. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
I see no other raised hands online, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go on to the consent calendar. Again, same question. If there's anything anyone wants to pull, we have one item. We'll start with, just because it's easier to see, Martinez, anything to pull? No. San Rafael? Okay, and then here in Concord? All right.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, and then I think we need to do public comment on that one too. So we're going to get this figured out with this comment part, but no, it's okay. So do we have any public comment in Martinez? No? Okay, San Rafael?
None here in Centerville.
Thank you. Here in Concord?
I see no raised hands online, Chair.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So then we'll go to a motion. I'm sorry.
Do we need to repeat? Okay, I move we approve the consent calendar.
I will second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and then we'll let someone help us with the roll call.
Can I get who motioned and who seconded?
I'm sorry, motion by Sakatz, seconded by McCormick.
Thank you. Hercules,
Yes.
Lafayette,
Yes.
Clarksburg? Yes. Martinez,
Yes.
Pinal,
Aye.
Pleasant Hill,
Yes.
and Vallejo. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And then next item on the agenda is the committee process for agenda setting.
Thank you, Chair. So what you have in your packet is just a staff report to describe the process so that committee members could understand this process that we have adopted at the May 1st meeting to identify how new items will get added to future agendas for the technical committee. And so to just shortly sum it up, essentially, when we get to the item on the agenda, it's listed as member requests for future agenda items, and it's item 8 on today's agenda. We'll go through the TechCom members and identify any items that you would like to add to a future agenda. Then we will take public comment to see if there's any public comment on that, and then the committees can entertain a motion to vote on those items for future meetings. Then it'll go through a process. It'll come up at the next meeting and for discussion, and then another action will be taken at a future meeting from there. Anything else, Chair?
Thank you. No, that's all. And I asked staff to, I guess collectively, when we had this initial conversation, asked staff to bring it back. And I'm not going to speak from an attorney's perspective, but there was this issue about when public comment was taken. I think at most of our councils, we didn't take that public comment. So this might be an opportunity if we want to go more to the less formal process. What I am told is acceptable is to have public comment at the beginning. So we call public comment before we have those conversations, and then we could bring those forward, any proposals, and then we could do sort of a polling process. And I would like, Catalina, if you could explain from a legal perspective if I've captured that correctly, and then just to find out from the board or this particular committee if that's what we want to go forward with.
Yeah, so in the current process, we have an actual formal vote that will take place. So that's why we have the discussion, then we go to public comment, then we take a vote. In this less formal approach that the chair has just flagged, it would be an approach where we would open up the item to public comment first, and see if there's any interest from the public about what they want to hear at future meetings. Then committee members would just kind of go down the line and identify what items they would like for future meetings as kind of a polling process. And that would be direction given to staff, and staff would work directly with the chair to identify a time frame when it's appropriate to bring it back to a future agenda. There would not be a formal vote that would take place.
Director McCormick?
So question, but are we saying, is there any sort of like ratification whether we want to actually accept the item or not? Or how is that working then? I guess I'm sorry, did I miss that part of because we could all have a bunch of different stuff that doesn't make it, we may not all agree that it's worth discussing.
Yeah, I think that there's a balance and sorry if I wasn't clear on that. So I think that we go through, you get your public comment, you go through, Director McCormick, you want X, Director Sakach, you want Y, and we go through that. Then we can go through and you have the full universe of all the items that you want, and then we can poll the individuals after that. So it's kind of a two-step process.
So, there's a polling.
Yeah, so it's hey, I've seen 5 of I see items X, Y, and Z. Director McCormick, you from Lafayette, I just want item X to move forward. And then we would go through, and Director Sakach would be, I just want item Y to go forward. And so hopefully we'd get to a consensus where everybody wants X or everybody wants Y, and then that would be as direction to staff. But that is an opportunity where we are not taking full votes on and having motions and seconds. So I think both items.
Time.
Yeah.
So is it just, if we're not voting, is it just kind of looking around and seeing this item seems to have the support of everybody or not?
Yeah, I think that if we are identifying each member and what items that they want to go forward, and there's a consensus, like, yes, I would also like to have item X, then we can move forward. I think it's a little bit of, the goal is to be, less formal and efficient, and that's approach that we can take. I think that what you've also laid out in the process is perhaps worth trying to see if you all want to, if that actually becomes more problematic with taking all of the votes. But if you didn't want to take a voting process, then it's a consensus. And okay, I see that there are 4 directors that want to talk about item X. Therefore, staff is going to take that direction from the chair that item X is what we are going to bring back next.
Can I have one more comment?
Sure. If I can just, if you don't mind, quick, ask your comment, I'll try and provide clarity. And I do see you, Director Zorn. I do see you there.
Yeah, I would just caution before board members suggest agenda items to check in with Vicken or Catalina and make sure that, the staff time involved, make sure this isn't, a topic of closed session perhaps. So rather than just introduce something without warning at a TechCom meeting, I think it's a good idea to check in with our CEO and see what kind of staff time is involved. Thank you.
I would say,
I was gonna-
sorry. I was trying to echo that. I think this is great. I mean, it's fine. It's kind of an interesting thing because this really could like encourage a whole bunch of action items. And I actually don't know if that's really in the best interest of what we're trying to do, right? I mean, there's a few things I think is really in our purview that we want to hit. So I'm okay with this, but I'm just provisionally gonna be okay with this because I gotta see if this turns some sort of like we get a dozen new things we gotta talk about every single time. That doesn't seem in the spirit of what we're trying to do.
And I tend to agree, and I do see Mayor Zorn. What I was going to just say back there is that when I think we discussed it and when we voted, we thought it was less formal process, and then our attorney said it must be this formal process, which is the first and the second, and so I wanted to I heard those comments, right? That's why we had this held, and so I wanted to see if what we could do to get it back to the intent was this less formal process of bringing items forward. So there's sort of two things we could do. I think we've had a couple comments from Concord. I'm going to go to Mayor Zorn and I'll come back over to us just because she's had her hand up for a second. Mayor Zorn, or excuse me, Director Zorn.
Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to acknowledge that we recently rolled this out in the city of Martinez a handful of months ago. And so I think to Director McCormick's concern, I just wanted to let you know how we're doing it. So it is sort of an informal request process. Before, it was always a very formal and potentially adversarial process, and it was really awkward and uncomfortable. So what we do is every meeting, I ask if there are any agenda requests, and oftentimes people don't have any agenda requests, and then we just move on and it's fine. If they do, they say it out loud and be, well, okay. And then that agenda item has a standing staff report attachment that keeps a running list of all of the requests. Because you sometimes find out that someone asked for something, it hasn't made it on an agenda yet, and then someone else asked for it, right? We can keep track of what's been requested, and then staff update that tracker when it is scheduled for an upcoming agenda. And so I think working then with the staff, working with Director Bailey, you are able to hear what everyone's asked for in the past. You're able to sort of like work with staff to figure out what the right order is. And then if it turns out that several months go by and the committee are constantly asking for the same thing that hasn't been scheduled, then you can sort of escalate it, but at least you have a paper trail of those requests. So I would recommend adding a staff report that is a standing list to this. And I think it'll make us feel a lot more comfortable. It's a nice compromise between a formal vote and an informal just list of requests.
Thank you, Mayor Zorn. I have some follow-up, but I'll go back to Concord and then we can go over to Centerville if there's another question there.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just going to suggest, the city of Pinole has a process similar to this and would highly suggest that our staff reach out to and I'm sure there probably is one as well for Marin and Napa counties, but there is a association of city clerks that have optimized this type of process for our cities. So many of our jurisdictions and agencies have already gone through something like this. I just think because we do have remote, I think what would be probably better is to have a more formal process as a vote, just because again, silence is not necessarily always consent. And we have for this meeting, for example, three different areas where folks are, again, doing their work. So I would just suggest that we do a more formalized vote on anything that comes as a future agenda item. I see in the staff report, which I would also align with, that like the chair, the presiding officer of the committee, as well as our staff would be working to prioritize those items. I think what's particularly helpful, and I think this speaks to Director McCormick's concern as well, what's particularly helpful is to have a forecast with the knowledge, and this is for the public especially, but also for the board members, with the knowledge that that forecast is a forecast. Things change, other things might be prioritized, and of course our CEO or our general counsel might move items with our chair. And so I just think that, I would be in support of a formalized process that has for every agenda, something that says something like future agenda items where the chair could ask our board and we'd vote on it. But I think what would be helpful in deciding on that would, of course, be a forecast where we know things that might be coming up. So if there were a member of this committee that was interested in, having particular item, perhaps there's a conversation that could be had also with staff to incorporate a piece of an item within an item. Sometimes that happens where, we're very detailed and then, something's coming up and we might just want to move those items and merge those together. So I'd be supportive of that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm seeing no other hands. I want to just clarify my understanding of the differences here. So I think it was Director Zorn that mentioned sort of that we call it a future agenda items list. And when we discussed this with staff going back several months, that was discussed. And then I think maybe it was Director Murphy, talking to other cities, we did go and grab other cities' agendas. I think every city that's represented here, I don't think I checked Martinez personally, but I think I checked every other city I think you weren't here yet for Director Zorn, but the other cities represented here, we did pull theirs to see how they did it in the process. I actually went back and watched video of how that was done, where it was available online. I think our staff had done that as well. Don't know how much of that transferred over, but we do hear those ideas, and I think that's an intent of staff to help us with this process. The question, though, is if we have a formal vote, then there needs to be, as I understand it, a public comment for each individual item, which could be lengthy in time-wise. So by having and these are Director Bailey's words, informal process, which still is us getting a number, we could just do public comment at the beginning of the item and then move forward. So the difference is, like we did with our votes today, we have to do, Director Bailey would state what he wants to agendize, public would speak on that item, and then if I had 3 more, we would do them each one. And so it lengthens the meeting. So the purpose is not to minimize public comment, it's to capture it all at the beginning so we can move through that agenda item. So those are the 2 differences in the as I put in air quotes, vote process. I'm going to go back to the attorney to make sure I said everything to be legally correct.
That's correct, but I think there's also a minor efficiency that we could incorporate in that, which is if we go through each director and just get their full list out, then have public comment, then accept motions on what items, and your motion could include multiple pieces of those lists and say, Director McCormick, and sorry, I keep picking on you because you're right there. So, you were like, I want this item 1, 2, and 5, and that would be your motion. And if you got somebody to second it, then we would vote through. There's always the catch, we'd have substitute motions, and so that could be lengthy. But I think the moment of efficiency is essentially everybody gets everything out on the table, and then you take public comment and then entertain motions for as many or as little of the items.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to just see if there's any more comments. I've been starting with Martinez, so I'm going to do San Rafael just to see if there's any more feedback after the last couple of discussion points, and then we'll have to make a decision. Again, our decision is going to be keep what we have in the agenda, which is one way, or doing that what I'm calling the less formal process. So any comments to that effect would be great, and then we'll go to public comment. So just again, one more time, San Rafael, anything to add? Okay, so seeing nothing from San Rafael. I'm looking at Director Zorn.
I appreciate the conversation. I would err on the side of informal. However, I appreciate Director McCormick's comment that it's a provisional preference because we have had a lot of conversations at the board and technical committee level where there's disagreement. And it's very difficult to resolve disagreements without a vote. So I would prefer that we are able to make this work informally. But if we are unable to do that, I think we should circle back and escalate for every single one to have a vote if we can't agree informally.
Understood. And there would just be a motion at the end of the meeting to make that change. So that would work perfectly. All right. So I've got the 2 online. Anything back in Concord? Director Palmares?
Sorry, I'm late. So I just want to be very clear about, can you please explain just what are the 2 options on the table right now?
Okay, yes, and I think I'm gonna have the attorney explain it.
Yeah, so option 1 essentially is to keep it as is. The process that has been approved at the May 1st meeting is we open up the item, directors list out their agenda items that they want for future agendas. We go to public comment. Then we entertain motions, as many or as little motions as needed to accomplish whatever items we want to get on a future agenda, and the votes happen. The alternative option is to do more of a less formal, get a consensus from the crowd. And that approach would be we open up the item, we go to public comment first, allow the public to identify items that they would like to have. Then we go to director by director to kind of get the list. and we can go back to director by director to get a consensus of, okay, now that we have the whole list, I want X, Y, and Z, and the staff is given it kind of as a direction to move forward on those items as they become available, and working with the chair based on a consensus of how many directors essentially wanted to move forward those items.
And through the chair. So for the first option, do we need to have public comment for us just requesting an agenda item? Because if it's not on the agenda, I mean, I just kind of question that, because we don't even do that in the city of Vallejo. We just, at the end of the meeting, there's the agenda item for, any referrals we have, and then there's some nods, and it gets into the agenda, but there's no public comment at that. There's a community, part of the agenda where people comment in general, but not for that specific item. So just trying to figure out like if that's 100% necessary.
Yeah, and appreciate the question. The way that this has been set up and approved from the last meeting, we have a standing agenda item, and we are asking for a vote. If we are going to have the committee deliberate and take a vote on an item, we do have to have public comment. In the less formal way, going back and forth between directors, it gets very sticky if we start saying when there should be public comment or not public comment. And so my recommendation as council is to err on the side of caution and have public comment and do it at the outset.
Yeah. So I think so I sort of should recommend this item. It was to help make our meeting more efficient, and then it was also to help staff not get all of us going to them with our agenda items. I think when we voted, I think all of our councils work the same way you just described it. Vallejo does it as well. However, staff has a different, our attorney has a different opinion. We need to follow legal advice. I'm not an attorney. So so after we voted and thought we voted for what you just discussed, we got that input that this is a requirement here at MCE. So this discussion is just to say, do we want to keep this extremely formal process, or do we want to have what I'm calling the less formal process, where we would not have to do the public comment in the same order? We could do one public comment for everything, as opposed to one for each vote that is going to be taken. And that's kind of the question that we have to. So, well, we don't have to. We keep the same, or we may want to modify it to be the less formal process.
And Chair, can I just clarify
Sure.
one thing? Not necessarily public comment for each item or each vote that we would take. We get under the current approved method, we get a collection of the list. We then have public comment. Then we entertain the motions. Because the motions are going to be based on the items you've already permitted public comment on, there's no need for further public comment.
Let me just check if Director Palmer said to follow up, and then if not, we'll go right to you.
Yeah, I understand. It's really hard to call right now, because I could see in either case that those ways of doing things could be unwieldy. Yeah, we'll just have to see, I guess.
Thank you, Director.
Yeah, and I was just gonna again state that I think the value, well, of course, I think the value of the public comment is always helpful too. Sometimes we have members of the public who might suggest something that we're not thinking about. What's happened in Pinole, we've had for our item, which is called request for future agenda items. Again, this is also, it works in the same procedure of any item. So for example, sometimes council members don't have a comment about a future item. Sometimes they have a question about an item that's coming based on the forecast. And instead of asking that to staff during a private conversation because residents are interested in a particular topic, there's just a ability. And usually for myself, for example, I might go to staff and say, hey, I'm going to ask about this item coming up. So can you reaffirm this during a public meeting so that residents can, again, hear that we are actually moving items. I do think just because we are remote, and at least with this meeting, we have 3 different locations, I would err into just having a formal vote on these items. I think it protects all of us. I think it protects the public. I think it protects staff. And again, if those things change, right, or if an item particularly doesn't get support, well, that's the deliberative process, like at work. Otherwise, I think it's going to get too much of again, I just think it's very healthy for us to do that, just given again, this meeting in particular has 3 different locations. So just erring on the side of caution, it's helpful to make sure we have a vote, and certainly the public comment process on any item. And again, I want to reiterate, what I heard General Counsel Murphy say, it's not necessarily a public comment on every motion. It's literally public comment on the item of future agenda items, or whatever we call that line, which I'm not sure what we're calling it, but just wanted to state that.
Yes, that is correct. After we have the members list out their requests, then we would go to public comment. Then you could entertain as many motions as you like to get those requests forward.
Okay, so do we have any public comment on this item? We'll start over in Martinez, because there's a
He has
crowd.
no comments.
No comments there. Okay, guys, because crowd is forming. Okay, how about in San Rafael?
None here in San Rafael.
Okay, thank you. And then Concord or online?
I see no raised hands online, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so with that, then we sort of.
Sorry,
No.
just really appreciate this discussion and looking forward to your input and recommendations. I just want to mention that I've been working with Jamie for quite some time and the department heads to share with you the big ticket items that will be coming to your committee, the committees, and the board for the remaining of the fiscal year. The other thing I wanted to share that you all are very familiar with our dynamic situation. So I race cars, so I just compare it to cars if you don't mind. We're trying to drive really fast for your input and public input, and we're looking really forward to what we need to accomplish. We have been receiving a lot of requests to look backwards. It's a lot of work. The staff is working super hard. But my preference is to help the board reach its ultimate goal as soon as possible while looking forward. So just a thought in what you may be asking in the future. I'm really trying to concentrate on for our future and how what we need to adjust and amend in our policies, procedures, recommendations, and what have you, instead of looking at if I made a wrong left turn in the past. So I hope I'm making sense to you.
No, that makes sense, and I think that's how we got here. So again, the goal is for us to govern as it pertains to tech committee to ourselves. So if Director Bailey wants to move MCE World Headquarters to Hercules, that's not a TechCom decision. So presumably my fellow board members would say, we're not going to entertain that at a TechCom committee meeting, right? So again, the goal of this was to help funnel proper requests to staff, not to have 100 items per meeting about random things that might be important to me, but may not deal with the tech committee at all, and or the MCE community to that extent. So that was kind of the decision about how we got to this point, and the research that was done to get us here. So I guess the question is, again, not on would we be finding out if we want an item forward. It's more about, do we want that more formal vote process as outlined here, or keep it the same? I suppose what I should ask is, we'll put it as a vote, is yeah, go ahead.
I think you could entertain a motion
Yeah, I was
from the
going
committee.
to figure out what we wanted to, how we're going to capture what we've heard here, because we kind of kept different pieces. I was trying to summarize that. So I think what I heard, just to repeat it then, is future agenda item list. We have that kind of covered from Martinez. The vote process is what we're largely voting on, or what we're largely debating and having a conversation over. Understanding that we have looked at all of our cities, how we do this. We generally do them the same, but we make a decision here. So with that, we will entertain a motion from anyone at any office, if you raise your hand, or. Okay, so I have Director Sakatz in Concord.
I would like to do early start with option 2, trying to do a less formal process. And I like the idea proposed by Director Zorn of the ongoing list. I think if we need to change the less formal to more formal, we'll probably know that within a few meetings. So that would be my motion, is to go with a less formal process and keep a running list of items that directors are interested in.
I'll second that, knowing that we can change it if we need to change it. This is a great experiment.
Chair, can I ask a really super quick question?
Give me one. Give me just 1 second.
Oh,
So
yeah, I'm sorry.
we have a motion by Sakatz, we have a second by Director McCormick, and then we'll have discussion. Director,
Yeah, my clarifying question is I support the motion that is on the table. I just want to clarify, does that mean that we're removing public comment altogether from this process? I didn't hear what she said.
I'll let let Attorney Murphy answer that.
Thank you, Chair. No, we would still be having public comment. It would occur at the outset. So when we would get to number item agenda 8, member requests for future agenda items, is there any public comment on this to start us? And then we would go through the public comment process, and then it would go through committee members to list out their requests after public comment.
And then there would be no formal vote.
Correct.
Great. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, and then Director Murphy.
And just a quick question for the current process that we've adopted in May, what's different than if the motion passed, what's different than the current process we have? So I'm clear, because the way I read the staff report, we technically wouldn't need a motion in this moment to adhere to a process we've already adopted, but I'm not seeing the difference.
I want to make sure I understand your question, Director Murphy. So
Just so I'm clear. So the staff report reads that we've adopted a process on May 1st. There's a motion on the table. Does that motion, if passed, adhere to that adopted process, or does that change the adopted process that we have?
it changes the adopted process.
Okay. In what ways?
So it would go through what the scenario I was just describing with Director Zorn. So the current process today, if the committee wanted to do, which is I think option 1, as we were discussing
Okay, yeah.
is that we would go through get the list, public comment, entertain motions as to which items would move forward. This option 2 is to go to the agenda item, ask for public comment, go through committee members and get the list, and then direction to staff as opposed to formal votes on actions.
Gotcha. And that's okay. Okay, gotcha. You said option 2, but that's option 1.
That's option 2.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Sorry if
So
I'm not
I've-
being clear.
Yeah, and I appreciate the committee's direction, however we go. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I'm just going to say I'm going to fully support just voting on items. I think again, for me, it's healthier for us as a committee where we are. I think it's healthier because we are also, again, in 3 different remote locations for us to just have a formal process. It clears the way. So happy with however the committee goes, but I'm going to support. No, it's not a motion. Just letting you know how I'm going to vote.
Okay, any other discussion item? Any other discussion rather? I don't see anything from our remote location. We're remote compared to us, so I'll bring it back for vote. We took public comment. Yeah, I'll bring it back for vote.
Phillies?
Yeah.
I didn't hear. Was that Hercules? Aye. Sorry. Aye.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Lafayette,
Aye.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Pinot,
No.
Pleasant Hill,
Yes.
Vallejo.
Nay.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is preferred first amendment to renewable power purchase agreement with Mulqueeney.
All right, good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I'm seeing the slides come up, so I'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Stephen Mariani. I'm the Manager of Power Resources here at MCE. Today, I'll be discussing the Mulqueeney Wind PPA amendment. And today we are seeking approval from the technical committee to execute this amendment. So to start, I'll just provide a quick overview of the project on the next slide, please. So the Mulqueeney Wind Project is an 80 megawatt wind facility located in Alameda County in the Altamont Pass. On the left of this slide is a photo that was taken earlier this year of MCE board members, some sitting in the room, and staff members who got to go on a tour of the facility during the construction phase a few months ago. The project is being developed by Brookfield Renewables, and MCE signed a power purchase agreement, or PPA, with Brookfield in September 2025. As part of this PPA, MCE and Brookfield agreed to a provision that would allow us to negotiate the terms of an early delivery period for the project. And if the project was able to come online in advance of the PPA start date. And so that's the basis for this amendment that we're bringing forth today. And I've detailed more about the amendment on the next slide. So the early deliveries are referred to in the contract as the pre-expected commercial operations date or pre-ECOD product, and they include all of the products that MCE will be receiving under the full PPA. These include the PCC1 eligible renewable energy with Northern California wind generating profile, which is a great complement to MCE's current portfolio. It also includes all of the CAISO energy market revenues, which are highly correlated with MCE's load costs. So this is providing a great hedge value. And finally, it offers the resource adequacy capacity or RA product with an attractive Northern California wind reliability factor. Hopefully all these terms are sounding familiar from the recent procurement workshops. And the expected delivery start for this pre-ECOD period is January 1st, 2027. And the delivery period for this amendment or for this pre-ECOD product will last up until the full PPA start date, which is October 1st, 2028. So that gives us a 21-month period of early deliveries. And lastly, there's no obligation for MCE to post collateral during this period. However, Brookfield's collateral that is already posted leading up until the full PPA start will remain in place during this pre-ECOD period. Next slide, please. So the end of last week, MCE team held a briefing with the chair of the technical committee and 2 other committee members to review all the confidential provisions of this amendment. But beyond these, the key terms and conditions include protective provisions for MCE, specifically regarding our guaranteed resource adequacy product during this pre-ECOD period. Furthermore, MCE will be paying a fixed price for the pre-ECOD product, and this price was negotiated such that the products that MCE is purchasing during this early delivery period will be MPV positive for MCE. And the remaining terms of the amendment mirror the terms that were negotiated to MCE's benefit under the full PPA, and importantly, the amendment will have no impact on the project or the commercial terms during the full PPA delivery period. Next slide, please. So based on these factors, MCE staff is recommending that the technical committee approve the PPA amendment between MCE and Mulqueeney Wind. Staff believe this is prudent to do due to the project's output at its size, technology, and location, which will all contribute to MCE's power portfolio at key times of the day and throughout the year. The benefits from the product, i.e. the PCC1 renewable energy, the RA capacity, and the CAISO revenues, all provide near-term procurement certainty for MCE and outweigh the costs of the amendment. The project is being developed and operated by a trusted counterparty. And finally, the net cost of this amendment for the current fiscal year is approximately $800,000. I just want to note here that this is only representative of the first 3 months of that early delivery period. Over the 21-month delivery period, the value is net positive to MCE. What this is looking at for the current fiscal year is actually just kind of highlighting the value where there is the lowest value for the pre-ECOD product. The main value will occur in both the summer months of 2027 and 2028. With that, I do have a couple colleagues with me sitting in San Rafael and one online if we have any questions from the committee. But with that, we're happy to take questions. And as a reference to the meeting that we had last week, I believe the chair also has some comments that he can relay related to this project. So with that, thank you for letting me present to you, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Stephen. And as just mentioned, Director Scatz, Director Andres, and I did have a chance to meet with staff on Friday, and we went through the same slides that are here today, and we also went over the contract in detail. So just want to disclose that, and if anyone has questions for me about that, we can do it. But if not, I'll turn it over to the board. We'll start in Martinez, and then we'll go to San Rafael, and then back over to Concord for comments or questions.
I was going to try to not speak much, but you called me out, so now I can ask my question. So the slide indicates that the fiscal year 27 cost is $800,000, but then I didn't hear what he said for the remainder of the 21-month PPA. So one is, what is the anticipated cost for the rest of the PPA? And then two, do we already have this budgeted, and how does this align with the budget?
Sure. So what I was mentioning related to the net cost. So over the 21-month period, it's not a net cost. It's actually a net benefit to MCE when you stack the benefits that we'll be getting from all the products versus the costs of this delivery period. So the 800,000 just kind of highlights the 3-month impact that is occurring in this fiscal year. So what that all is to say, the benefits over the 21 months will outweigh the net cost that you're seeing in both the 3-month period of this fiscal year and the costs in the subsequent fiscal years where this early delivery period is taking place, as well as this 800,000 net cost is within the anticipated budget for power costs in the current fiscal year. So from that perspective, it is within budget, but on the whole, overall, this early delivery period is a net benefit to MCE.
Thank you. No other questions.
Thank you. Senator Fell, any questions or comments? We'll take both.
No questions. I appreciate the meeting that we had with staff on Friday. I thought it was very well run. Thank you for the analysis. And I thought staff did a nice job of negotiating this pre-ECOD contract amendment. I think this wind resource really lines up nicely with our demand profile, and I'm supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Andres. Bringing it back to Concord, Director McCormick.
Well, I was going to say, as one of the board members who visited the site, it's great to see it actually go from construction to actually generating electricity. It's incredibly exciting. I just had a brief, if you can just elaborate a little bit on the wind reliability factor, because I know that's obviously one of our concerns is, we don't get the credit on the RI side for solar as much or whatever. So what is NorCal wind? Is that a different kind of factor than for anything in Bay Area, or how does that work?
Yeah, so they assign reliability factors, they call them technical factors, to different resource types, and they do it for solar and wind by region too, because those factors will be different. So Northern California wind, I believe, has one of the highest reliability factors in California. And my colleague sent me the numbers earlier. So I think in the greatest month, because they assign these factors by month, we get about 48% reliability factor. So compared to solar, it is a lot more attractive. And then on the RA side, it's particularly helpful in those summer months where it's counting for more. So yeah, that's a big driver of the value for us.
I seem to recall even during the tour we had, it's like the wind, especially with the Altamont, is the most in like the late afternoon, early evening, kind of when the demand profile is so high. So no, it's a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Skatz.
Thank you so much for the presentation, both today and Friday. And I'm supportive of this. I think it will save our ratepayers money in the summer months. And I'm excited that it's coming online much sooner than we anticipated. I just had a quick question. During the procurement workshop, I know this is a snapshot in time, but we had the August 2026 RA portfolio. And I know we had some comments from the public that, it was a little bit more natural gas heavy than they wanted. Is that going to change with this? I don't know if you're able to predict at this time what, say, August 2027 will look like with this contract. Thanks.
It certainly helps. It will displace to the amount that it's effectively able to provide clean RA. It will do that, and that was one of the main drivers behind going after this amendment. So while, on the qualitative side, it certainly adds to our clean RA portfolio in addition to the quantitative benefits that we get.
And then Director Murphy, and then Director Palmares.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. And I just want to again commend staff for this partnership. This PPA looks great, very supportive. I know just very briefly, I just have two questions that are oftentimes asked. So the first is just around the protections of our agency and its ratepayers if there were let's knock on wood that there's not going to be, but if there were any delays, construction delays, given the early delivery, what protections does our contract have there? And I'll just ask my second question, because I do know our contract pricing is always going to be redacted, but if staff can explain a little bit about determining the pricing is favorable given our current market conditions right now, since I know that's changed a little bit.
Yeah, so to the first schedule on timing. So the developer, part of the reason they were able to offer it to us is they built in some buffer in the timeline. So to the extent that they're able to bring this project online, we've been keeping up with how the project is progressing. We won't pay for the project until it's providing us energy, and we kind of have this 21-month window where we're able to have that buffer and allow it to come online and then start paying once we're receiving product. But the call out that I made in the slides was on the resource adequacy. For planning purposes, since we have to go out and contract that product ahead of time, we do have protections where the counterparty will make us whole if we're not able to get the RA for it in that 21-month period. And can you remind me of the second question?
Yes, of course. I was trying to be brief, but just can you explain a little bit about how staff determined the pricing? Obviously, just being a little general, because I know we have redacted pricing in the contract, but just explaining about how that pricing has met this current market condition.
Sure. Yeah. So we have multiple expert forecasts that we rely on to put together our model that values the different value benefit stack from the resource. As I mentioned, because it is a shorter term and a nearer term contract, we do have quite a bit more certainty on the prices going out 1 to 2 years. So that was all helpful in reducing the price for us in this contract. It just reflects less risk of those prices since we're closer to the period. It takes into account some of the sort of market changes for PCC1 prices softening recently. So all of that is baked into the analysis that we did and was updated since the time that we negotiated the PPA. So all of it is reflective of kind of near-term forecasts for market prices.
Thank you. And again, excellent work.
Thank you.
Dr. Palmares.
Thank you. In terms of land use, what's the footprint of this and how many turbines are we talking about?
I'll do some quick math in my head, unless CB or Devin know this off the top of my head. I don't know the square footage off the top of my head, but I know these are 4.5 megawatt turbines and there's 80 megawatt nameplate capacity. So that would roughly be 18 turbines that are going up. Sorry, CB, I hear you chiming in on the other end.
I was going to say 19. I thought they mentioned 19. Maybe it's 18. But yeah, the home's done, I think, right, Stephen, with all, when we were there, I think 11 had been constructed when we visited, and now they must be very close. I'm not sure what number they're at.
Okay, great. And last thing, and sorry, this may have been mentioned, but I had to step out, but turbine micrositing, I mean, is it smaller than other turbines or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, that's going back to the original PPA. I know that's a piece that is specifically called out for the avian protection on that. CB, do you know more details about the actual technology that they're utilizing there?
For the avian protection?
Yep.
I cannot remember that question.
Okay. We can get you more detail on that. Apologies for the amendment. It's been a little bit of time since we negotiated the full PPA. I know that detail was shared when we did the full PPA approval in September 2025, so we can follow up on that one.
Okay, but for those who actually have been there and seen the initial construction, I mean, is it similar in size with other turbines?
So I know the sizing is increased from, I think, kind of the legacy technology, what would have been installed maybe 20, 30 years ago, because these are larger. But as I understand it, this technology allows the turbines to feather so that if it detects kind of things nearby, it has that sort of control. So I think there's some element to that to the technology, but I don't want to speak out of turn. We can definitely get more information on that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I can just offer, I know, remember with the tour, this is an existing wind turbine site. So it's not like this isn't net new. We're not taking this. So it's just basically replacing it. There's old school ones. They were many, many more, hundreds, I want to say. It was smaller ones. And these are like larger, much more efficient. You don't need as many. It's pretty incredible, the technology leap that's been the last 20 or 30 years.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
Thank you to each of my colleagues for their comments. And I'll say, but for my comments, is I agree with Director Andre said about the meeting on Friday, as well as just the opportunity this presents for us. So we'll go to public comment, I think, at this point, and we'll circle through same order, just so I don't get confused. Martinez, is there anything? Are we sure? Because I don't see you looking at the public. All right, so we got nothing from the public there. Okay, and then how about San Rafael?
Nothing here in San Rafael.
Perfect, thank you. And then for either Concord or for online.
I see a hand raised by Dan Segedin.
Okay. And you can go ahead if you can hear us.
Yep, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
This is Dan Segedin, Marine Conservation League. I just want to say we are very supportive of this project. In contrast to Index Plus contracts, this really is new steel in the ground. You really are adding to the grid. Good generation profile, good clean RA. So we'll look forward to seeing this as I drive through the Altamont Pass and say, you know, MCE added this to the grid. This is a big improvement. So big thank you to staff and to MCE for getting this done. Great work. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
I see no other raised hands online, Chair.
Okay, with that, we have, I think we're just receiving the report, actually. No, we need to approve it, so then recommend to the full
Chair,
team.
sorry, I just wanted to, in addition to thanking Stephen, I want to recognize Devin from Stephen's group. He couldn't be here in person. That's why Stephen stepped up to make the presentation, but hopefully soon you will hear directly from Devin too. So just FYI, thank you.
And then we had, again, it wasn't just me at the meeting on Friday. Did you? No, I think I'm on. Yeah, sorry. And so we had two of the directors there. If anyone wanted to talk about what happened on, just to provide any additional information about the meeting on Friday that they're willing to share. If not, we can move forward. I'm looking at Director Andre perhaps, or Director Scatz with any additional.
I've made my comments. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Chair, I'm happy to move approval and
Please.
To direct and authorize the execution of the Renewable Power Purchase Agreement Amendment with Mulqueeney Wind Energy LLC.
I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Director Murphy. We have a second from Director Scatz. Are there any discussion? All right, so hearing none, we'll do the roll call vote.
Hercules,
Aye.
Lafayette,
Aye.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Martinez,
Aye.
Pinot,
Aye.
Pleasant Hill.
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Vallejo,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, thank you. And we're going back to our agenda. We have, I think, one more item. We do, which is request for future agenda items for our last discussion. So this is item number 8 on the agenda. Does anyone have a future agenda item? I do see a hand raised in Martinez.
I just wanted to let you know, Director, that I had a hard stop at noon, and so I'm going to leave this open if anyone does have any comments. Otherwise, I will be packing up and leaving in about 2 minutes.
We'll try and expedite this then. Thank you very much. Any other future agenda items?
Chair, did you want to open this up to public
Oh,
comment
that's
first?
true. Our new process. I'm sorry. Yes. Public comment on future agenda items, either online or let's just do online first because I said it.
I see no hands raised online, Chair.
Perfect. Okay, then we'll quickly go San Rafael.
None here in San Rafael.
Thank you, Martinez. I'm thinking nothing there. Okay, perfect. Nothing here in Concord. So we'll go back to the directors for any future agenda items. San Rafael? I think we had a note.
Yeah, so I think I brought this up before, but I would like to discuss the renewable energy targets for the light green product. And this ties into, giving staff some flexibility with respect to the target on the product content label. And it ties into the use of the short-term Index Plus contracts. Thank you.
Okay, and then just to follow up, I think the general ask was if we talked to staff already, so you've already had that conversation with staff?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have that down. We're going to continue to just go through. Martinez, I think we said nothing for future agenda. We already checked on that. And then back here in Concord.
Nothing new for me.
Okay, nothing for me either. I think anything else here. Okay, so I'm gonna look to our attorney here on, just because it's our first time going through this process. So the issue is to discuss renewable energy products in the light green category. I'm presuming there's been some conversation with staff that this applies here at this committee. So if you want to guide us through.
Yeah, so under the new process, we would just look for direction to staff to bring this to a future agenda. And so I think there's just if members want to identify if they have any support.
Okay, thank you. And then remember, this is just to go as a discussion item for the future. There's no action would be taken. It would just be to add it as a discussion item on a future agenda.
Well, just Director McCormick, I support the, think it'd be a great item to discuss in the future.
I'm fine with it as well.
Fine. Okay. Okay, so we're getting all fines over here in Concord. Is that good enough for that? And then Director Andres over in Centerville, do you support your own proposal?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, and then we got Martinez back there. I got a thumbs up from Martinez. Okay, so we'll have that as a future agenda item list. We'll go through the details with staff. We'll report out at the next meeting. If there's nothing else for that item, we'll go to committee and staff matters. Again, we'll do it in the same circle. I know Martinez, if you had anything to add, nothing there. Thank you. See ya. And then we'll go to San Rafael.
None, thank you, Chair.
Is there anything here in Concord? Okay, I don't think we need public discussion on nothing, I don't think. So we'll move forward with adjournment of the meeting. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for listening online, and we'll see you in next month for the next scheduled meeting. Thank you.